Hello World Wide Web, I'm Dr. Shado, the internet personality with the best hair. And I was trying to rip a 4K movie to review this week, but that is far more of a pain in the ass than it has any right to be, so how's about a review of Species 2 instead? Released in 1998, 3 years after the original movie, Species 2 follows up that very conclusive and concise ending by pretty much ignoring most of the established plot points and throwing together a sci-fi monster flick in a far more generic way. So you remember all that stuff in the first movie about the transmission sent to SETI about how to make an alien-human hybrid thingamajig, and that's how you got the alien on Earth in the first place? Well, don't. Now it's just some goo they found on Mars. Which infects the astronauts. Yeah, you used to have to grow these things with a 1% success rate and wait months for them to mature, but now the alien species can just infect you like the thing. But they still want to reproduce, and old partners have to come together in the hopes of saving the human race from the threat of horny extraterrestrials once again. It's just like, no matter what you do, aliens just want to fuck. So, let's take a look at Species 2 and see these fucking aliens. Our story opens on a manned mission to Mars. The Martian lander holds Patrick Ross, played by Justin Lazard, who proudly takes the first step onto the Red Planet.
Not for one nation. Not for one people. Not for one creed. But for all humankind.
Nice sentiment, but you only brought the American flag. Don't pretend like this ain't a flex. Their mission is to collect soil samples. Mysterious, smoky soil samples. The other crew members, Dennis Gamble, played by Muketi Williamson, and Ann Sampas, played by Miriam Cure, wait up in the space shuttle for his return, as despite all the time it took them to get there, evidently they only remembered to bring one spacesuit.
Oh my god. It was incredible.
Yeah, I'd rate it about a 2 out of 5. Nice red rocks, but beyond that, what even is there? No bother, they spent months coming out here. I think. The radio chat between Mars and Houston is instantaneous when even light takes over 3 minutes to travel that distance, but space lag aside, they're getting ready to just turn around and head back home. However, one of the specimen jars is not frozen, but instead melting, exploding! Unnoticed, which is fortunate for the goo inside, because otherwise, how's this supposed to happen?
3, 2, 1.
The goo strikes, causing them to... Wait a minute, how in the hell did they even end up with goo? They were digging soil samples like a couple of inches deep, dry as hell. It was dusty, yes, but now it's frozen and then hot alien goo. Geez, we're only 10 minutes in, and I'm already wondering, what in the fuck were they thinking? 7 minutes later, the crew regains consciousness. Normally, this would be a horrifying problem where they no longer are in the right place to get back home with the fuel they have, or at the very least, an extremely concerning case of lost time, but they're just like, seems fine, and brush it off, no questions asked. Not the worst idea this movie's got, as they remade the monster from the last one, now named Eve, still played by Natasha Henstridge.
Eve was recreated from a frozen lab embryo. She's a genetic duplicate of the original Syl.
The idea being that, hey, we need to be able to protect ourselves from aliens, so let's make a human-alien hybrid so as to learn better how to protect ourselves from aliens whose main method of trying to kill us is by convincing us to make human-alien hybrids. This program is being led by Laura Baker, still played by Marg Helgenberger. She shows off this handy-dandy toxic gas they've been working on, which puts her little guinea pig through torturous pain, with massive blisters appearing all over her body.
What happened, Dr. Baker?
The alien species has Wolverine regeneration powers. They established this in the first movie, dude. The dude in question is Colonel Carter Burgess Jr., played by George DeZunza. He's angry they haven't found a surefire way to kill the aliens, but considering that flies in the face of their goal of continuing research and experiments, he's pretty alone in that sentiment. Besides, this isn't Syl, this is Eve. She's not a horny alien bent on destroying the human race, but a misunderstood laboratory experiment who's being tortured day in and day out and given plenty of reasons to destroy the human race. Now, well, back on with our heroes from space, any plans they might have to fuck humanity to extinction are shot down for the time being.
No sexual activity for at least 10 days. And that means all of you.
Oh, you've got to be kidding.
No, I'm not kidding.
We don't know if you're carrying any kind of horrifying space disease, so we gotta be sure to cover all the bases. So just go out, socialize, mingle, but keep it in your pants, okay? They enforce the no-nookie policy with the honor system, meaning that after Senator Ross, played by James Cromwell, finishes his speech about the heroism of his son, the first man on Mars, where could he be when they call him up to the podium?
Lincoln Suite upstairs.
Geez, maybe next time put a shock collar around that thing. I mean, unless he's into that sort of stuff. Well, no one suspects anything anyway, allowing him to head up to give his own speech about what it's like to be on Mars, and how completely human he still is, and not a threat to the planet whatsoever.
I thought to myself how easy it would be to destroy all that God has created.
Well, shit, man, even without the spooky music, how in the hell do you expect the crowd to take that little music? Very well, it seems. Something, nuclear war bad speech, good. Now it's on to the fucking.
My sister decided to join us. We share everything.
Yeah, except a familial resemblance. And they get down to fucking. That R-rated movie style where it's really not that bad, but I still gotta edit around it like crazy for these reviews. Until we get to the actual horrifying stuff, at least, where Patrick erupts into alien tentacles, and the one lady's belly erupts in alien baby. So, what to do with this mess? I just leave them in the barn, let them fend for themselves. Supposedly, he still has most of his humanity at this point, so I guess he's just a really shitty father. After all, he's still cognizant enough to go up to his father and say, hey, I think there might be something wrong with me, but unfortunately he never gets to the whole killing women with his super sperm part, as Daddy doesn't want to hear it. He's gotta have to toughen up and deal with his own shit sooner or later. After all, Daddy intends to turn him into the President of the United States. But there are those little tests they were doing to make sure everything's fine, and Dr. Urinsky, played by Baxter Harris, sees that it is very much not the case.
Oh my God.
For his cells contain weird little alien cells that consume the human cells before taking over. Kind of like in The Thing. And not like in Species. Also, kind of like The Thing, the blood makes an escape attempt. Breaking free of the vial, it scurries off into a corner of the room. Jesus Christ, man, you saw that thing doing the thing like The Thing, and your first idea is to play patty cake with it? What the hell do you think's gonna happen? You're gonna get disemboweled by the magical wall hand. Clearly the most obvious outcome. But with his death, the government knows there's another alien on the loose. Now, they don't bother looking at his findings, or the obvious broken vial of Patrick's blood. That would be smart. Instead, they know it's an alien, but not Eve, and therefore, they need to get more actors from the first movie to come back for another go. This brings us to Press, played by Michael Madsen.
Count me out of the search party, okay?
But he doesn't want anything to do with it. How will they convince him to help?
$1 million. Tax-free.
Wait a minute, did they just film themselves actually hiring this guy for the movie? This is another opportunity for them to mention that Eve has been specifically kept away from men, because the Colonel just waltzes in there unopposed with Press, and it's only Laura who yells at them because of the hard and fast rule to keep penises as far away from Eve as possible. They figure it'll suppress her reproductive drive, yet still let her watch TV with guys all over the screen because consistency is hard. Either way, Urinsky was calling a former colleague when he was killed, so Dr. Baker and Press head down to the Garberville Psychiatric Institute to meet him. Dr. Herman Cromwell, played by Peter Boyle. He just mentions that he was working on an old Mars meteorite, found evidence of ancient life, and warned against the mission to Mars because of it. Thus, he was institutionalized, and they said fuck it and went anyway.
Whatever species destroyed Mars, those poor astronauts brought down to Earth.
And they say the word in the movie a lot. Species! That right there, that is the name of the movie. It always comes off sounding more than a little awkward. Our heroes have to hurry now, as it's the end of the no-sex quarantine. No, they never brought Patrick back for more blood. As far as I can tell, after the doctor was killed by an alien being, they never bothered to finish the tests. They're still far too slow, as everyone is getting down and dirty tonight. Which, to Anne, results in her alien baby bursting through her belly, murdering her lover, and causing chaos in record time. And much like many a horror movie franchise where the first one had one monster that was nigh indestructible, and the sequel has many, suddenly one fucking bullet seems to be enough to take it down. That and the toxic gas pump. It's pretty much a cheaper, shittier version of a flamethrower. The movie's playing make-believe now. Well, they're dead, but so is the alien. Now to rush to Dennis Gamble. Yeah, they do have more than enough soldiers to just track down every member of the Mars mission at the same time, but yeah, that's too hard to edit. They do get Gamble before he manages to get his rocks off, which can only mean...
Computer says normal, normal, normal. There is no sign of infection.
He's perfectly fine. Which they would have been able to figure out if they had just tested his blood a week and a half ago like they were supposed to, but And of course, no one could even figure out where Patrick was, so he just killed another woman, and has yet another kid kicking around. Well, he calmed down and got very nicely dressed awful damn fast. Gotta make a good last impression, as evidently Gamble did know where he was, but only shows up in time to see this happen. See, still understands what he's doing and doesn't really want to have any part of it. Yet, for some reason, when it comes to kids, just stick him in the corner. Fuck it. Also, we've still got over 40 minutes of movie left, so with the powers of CGI, Patrick's head regrows, which looks less impressive than it did in Hellraiser 11 years earlier. It's so horrifying, Gamble runs off and reports back to the rest of the team. He also is starting to question the ridiculousness of the plot.
If they knew there were aliens up there, why the hell they send us?
NSCG got warned, but they chose to ignore it.
Or, in the words of the critical drinker, they were like, nah, it'll be fine. Also, Gamble is now one of the team. They don't ask him to join up, and he doesn't seem to volunteer or anything. He just keeps showing up in the scenes now as comic relief.
Man, how can you just touch that?
Occupational hazard.
Don't worry. The alien cells don't take on a life of their own and infect people unless the plot says so. They're also really slow when it comes to getting new leads on Patrick's whereabouts, allowing him to fuck, marry, kill his way all through town without the middleman, and get quite the collection of offspring to boot. Okay, you're just gonna dress them all in matching rags? Real nice, Patrick. You're putting that much thought into it. Maybe take your small army down to Kids R Us or something. You're not exactly poor. Well, the plot's going nowhere, so all of a sudden, Eve is psychic!
Half her alien genes are dormant. Tracking Patrick is out of her league.
Dormant means asleep.
And they know she's psychic and have ways to make her more psychic, but never mind any of that for now. What about that no men in the lab policy? Not important anymore. Besides, they have a new plan to make Eve a super psychic with the power of lasers. This allows Press and Gamble to track down Patrick in a grocery store. They needed the psychic link, as when Patrick just grabs a woman to drag her off for procreation, fucking nobody does a goddamn thing about it. However, he too has psychic powers, and when he realizes there's a hot half-alien babe just waiting for the mating, he quickly loses interest in the human option and walks right out into the open, very quickly finding himself in Press's crosshairs.
You gotta go in for tests, bruh.
Okay. Sure, well, I don't mind going into the lab.
Oh, gee, it's almost like he wants to go there and is perfectly fine with taking the Uber to Earth's hottest and horniest alien babe. I mean, they could test his blood at literally any clinic along the way, but no, evidently the astronaut blood testing lab is also the same lab that houses Eve. So Patrick breaks free from custody, rushing into the lab in the hopes of the ultimate screw. However, Dr. Baker refuses to open the cell. Also, freaky tongue action. Jesus Christ, the toxic gas. Kudos to the actors for trying to make it look effective, because the prop doesn't. I bet they were told they would fix it in post. Also, I could have sworn there was some kind of rule against penises getting too close to Eve, but yeah, it doesn't matter now. She's not interested in Gamble. This is actually plot relevant in a way that does take lore established in the first movie into account.
You don't have sickle cell anemia, which is why you're able to go to Mars, but you're a carrier.
Right. Well, I guess that's why he, didn't get infected up on the ship.
Holy shit! An explanation for things that actually makes sense. I've forgotten what that feels like. But then it just leads to Baker wondering if they can use human diseases to beat the aliens. Hell, it worked on the Martians in War of the Worlds. In the meantime, Patrick's father finds him at the old house. He's been briefed on the whole alien parasite infection genetic modification thing, whatever the hell it is, and he's here to let his son know that it's okay. He's here for him, and he won't let anyone hurt him. Which isn't going to do anything to advance the plot, so fuck it, get rid of that character. So Grandpa's not around to witness the awkward time known as puberty, with extra tentacles. Either way, Baker has whipped up darts loaded with Sam Porter Gamble's blood as an anti-alien weapon, but they don't know where their alien is hiding. Not to worry, for Eve is now too horny to contain herself. And jumps through the window, breaking free of containment, much like how in the first movie Syl broke free of containment by jumping through the window. Did these motherfuckers not think to maybe reinforce the windows? Well, they did put an electric tether to a toxic bomb embedded into her brain, but break this one button and suddenly that backup plan is useless as well. This means Eve escapes, and they unload a few hundred rounds into her sexy alien ass. However, this is the part of the movie where bullets don't work on the aliens, and she gets right the fuck back up and continues to escape. Her reproductive instinct is fully engaged, and she leads the anti-alien strike team right to Patrick's nest. How convenient.
I'm gonna go up and see if I can find Adam and Eve.
Press, this isn't Eve's fault. She's human, too.
Well, aside from pretending she's not responsible for her own actions, was there just not enough film for a second take? I guess they use it all up on the all-important scene of some good old-fashioned alien fucking. Not like they spent all that much effort on the rest of this.
What's wrong? My DNA ain't good enough!
Absolutely nothing is going to make your little leaf blowers seem the least bit intimidating. But hey, it kinda works, so they keep at it. While they missed the pods, Press presses on into the main event, finding Eve and Patrick.
Eve! Get out of the way!
Sir, a little privacy, please? Unsurprisingly, this interruption only gets him attacked, as Patrick is now some big fucking quadrupedal biomechanoid monstrosity. However, Eve does run interference at the behest of Dr. Baker, which gets her a quick backhand, and then killed by Patrick. The fight is a tough one, but they have one trick up their sleeve: Gamble's blood. Yes, he acted like that's what the mist they were spraying on earlier had, and we saw them with a tranq gun loaded with blood, but now neither of those are an option, meaning Press must stab Gamble's leg before stabbing Patrick with the bloody pitchfork, rendering the monster into a melty pile of alien goo. Therefore, happy ending! I mean, Eve's dead, but she turned hero right at the end, so that's good, right? And the world is saved once again from the horny alien menace, meaning Gamble can finally get his rocks off in peace. Eve, in the meantime, is being shipped in an unguarded ambulance with no one looking over her. You know, just in case we need sequel bait. Which we get when a cat jumps on her. No fucking idea where the cat came from, but on to the blood, which I guess is working by the Thing rules again, and can infect it. And one of Patrick's kids survived. He just happened to sneak on the ambulance when no one was looking. And Eve's corpse is pregnant with Patrick's child. Jesus Christ, movie, take one sequel bait and stick to it. Anyway, that was Species 2. Fuck! You know, the first Species wasn't the most amazing sci-fi horror flick out there, but it had its charm and it laid the groundwork for plenty of avenues to explore in potential sequels. Somehow the one they chose was to retread the original flick while making the source of the alien threat far more generic. Normally, sequels fuck things up by over-explaining the monsters and making them less of a threat in the process. Species 2, though, it just does whatever the hell it wants with the monster now, depending on what the current scene needs to happen. The species is so hard to kill, its very blood will run off on its own. Unless it's supposed to die here, then one plain-ass bullet will do the trick. There were some interesting ideas here, but at the end that's all they ever ended up being. Ideas that were never fully explored. Bringing back Natasha Henstridge to effectively reprise her role is a schlocky sequel move that really made no sense, but there was potential if they had explained why making Eve was the best course of action. Unfortunately, though, the most we got was that it was a way they could maybe work on an anti-alien strategy, so fuck it. Almost destroyed the world last time we did this. What's the worst that could happen? Then, of course, there's a complete lack of sense when it comes to Patrick's character. He's still human and worried about what's happening with him. In like 1 or 2 scenes, but for the most part he's just a slasher villain roaming the streets killing women left and right without a care in the world. Again, there was serious potential here to explore that inner conflict, but there wasn't an inner conflict. If anything, him being concerned with his own well-being is a part that came off as out of character. At the end of the day, Species 2 is a mess. It's got gore and nudity and a huge body count, but it follows the concepts established in the first movie only kinda, and exists mainly as a by-the-numbers sequel that can't count. Coming in at 2, Miracle Grow Alien Offspring, out of 5. Maybe people were right and bad CGI sharks really was worth a 3. Thank you all for watching. I've been Shado, and remember, you still haven't convinced me that it's really that bad of an idea to fuck the shit out of hot, horny alien babes.